Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Good afternoon, or good evening, or maybe even for some of you, good morning. Thank you so much for joining All the Feels. I'm Patricia Angelin, and you are at Alba Technique in New York. Let me turn this camera around and we can get started. Please feel free to put any questions you might have in the chat, or if you want to think about it a little bit, for later, just email us at albatechnique@gmail.com. If you have anything that occurs to you after having a chance to listen to this, looking at it either at the Alba Technique on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel now, or on Instagram later. So you are very, very welcome. These are difficult times. We have two questions for this week, which somewhat intertwine, as things so frequently do in our feelings. Our feelings are not simple. They just aren't. And that contributes to us feeling like everything is wildly complicated, because we have feelings, and then we have feelings about our feelings, and then we have feelings about other people's reaction to our feelings, and then how we react to that feelings, and so that is what it is for all of us, and we are all human. And so dealing with our feelings is arguably what makes us most human. So as difficult as it is for us at any given moment, as individuals and as groups, we need to know and be grateful that this is part of what makes us human with a capital H. And so let us not regret that we have all of these emotions, which feel so inconvenient to us at times. I think it was 2 weeks ago, can't remember whether it's Facebook Live or Instagram Live where I'm joining you now. I related to you how my own emotional reactivity has been extremely surprising to me in very acute and sudden ways over the past, I would say, about 3 weeks. Now, for the next, I think, 2 weeks, Mercury is in retrograde, which is all of our astrologer, knowledgeable persons will tell you is a Mercury retrograde, that little planet, that gravitational pull when it appears to the human eye to go backwards. It seems over centuries upon centuries and even millennia to be symbolic of balled up communications on every level. Last week it showed up in that I was trying to get on Facebook Live and Facebook just wasn't cooperating. It wasn't my internet connection that was checked. It wasn't my iPad. It was just, but it can be anything. And it just puts kind of something into the works so that things in our lives don't go in like that, like we would want them to, and move along with any kind of flow. So here is the first of these two questions which do intertwine. The first one is, hopefully I can read my own writing. I wrote it out longhand so that I get a better real sense and grip of it. Let's see, wrong question. I want to go first. So the question is, lately I get emotional, suddenly and over nothing. What can help me get more stable emotionally? I react to everything. I fly off the handle. I just get emotional. So again, that's lately. I get emotional suddenly and over nothing. What can help me get more stable emotionally? Well, that is just a really big question. In the Eastern religious traditions, such as Buddhism, this kind of instability is what is considered to be the ultimate enemy of us as individuals and of mankind. I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure I agree with my Buddhist brethren in that entirely. It does cause us to suffer, and often, but since I think that, and neuroscience has been telling us, that it makes us more human. This is what makes us human. The Japanese have been working on getting artificial intelligence, AI, to be able to look humanly emotional for a really long time. And I can instantly tell if I'm looking at a piece of AI. Instantly. They'll go further and further to being able to do it. But basically, it's what makes us human. We don't even know. We say, oh, the amygdala and the hippocampus, and that's where fear lives. And yeah, but those brain systems are, it's part of the limbic system, but it ain't only one answer. And we have to accept that science is continuing to explore, and it's wonderful, but it doesn't have all of the answers for us. So first of all, we have to accept that. And a little bit of a sigh, maybe, because we would just love to know what this stuff is so that we could just jolly well get control of it. And that's not happening in our lifetimes, everybody, but we will get more and more information. So, the querent asked, again, this sudden reactivity, this being emotional that is being observed, what can help that individual and each one of us become more stable? I don't think it's sitting around in a yoga posture, chanting to get on a certain frequency and to let our brains go into a different part of mind, although that can definitely have its place in our life. Prayer has a place, meditation has a place, and these are good things and they're good places, and they help us to tame the volatility, shall we say, the turbulence of our own emotional systems. And some of us by temperament are more emotionally turbulent and reactive than other persons. But these days, if we can even say post-pandemic, because I don't think we can right now because of all the variants, because of poor India right now, and what's happening in certain other places in the world as well as India. It's just that India is so in the news right now because the COVID-19 virus and the mutations of it have come back with such a human vengeance that we are all subconsciously, I think, waiting for another shoe to drop. We're kind of like, we're looking, we're waiting, we're not sure. Mask, no mask, public, private, all of these things. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but let's bring it up to the front of mind, because it does have to do with your and my emotional reactivity. We're quicker to emote. What the feelings come out of us with more rapidity and with less time, if we could put it that way, between the synapses. So as I told you before, I had an instant primeval fear reaction to something that came into my ear, some sound. I immediately followed upon fear, became anger. I leapt up to do something about that and got into a verbal battle with a young male on the street who had a heck of a lot of more testosterone available to him to deal with his emotional reactivity to what I had said. And I have a sense of humor about it now, and I hope he does as well. I think he probably does. One of the things that I can be happy about is that neither he nor I resorted to calling each other bad names or to using any violent language. I'd like to point out to you that with this reactivity that we're all feeling right now because of our unsureness and in the post-pandemic, and we have to accept that that's just there, and it's underneath everything for all of us, so that it's as though the earth of our incarnational self, of our bodies, can have sudden fissures, sudden earthquake movements where one part goes here. It's this analogy. It's not perfect, but and then maybe magma, anger bubbles up like a volcano from underneath. So the earth is volatile right now. We've got beautiful images of a volcano that's going off in Iceland right now, and et cetera, et cetera. So all of this volatility, our physical selves, we partake of our world, as we know, both our human world and the physical environment we're in. So if we're in a densely populated area, as I am in New York, the pressures of many volatile people around and many people not knowing what is going to happen next on every level. Brave new world and welcome to it, but has the new world come yet? So that's what we're all dealing with. So the querent is saying, what can help me get more stable emotionally? I think the first thing to do is, as I'm saying to you right now, is to accept that there is not a lot of stability right now. It just doesn't exist. So we're looking for safety. We're always looking for safety. But as the great Helen Keller famously said, there is no security in nature. In nature, there's no safety. So we can try to set things up the best way we can, but we have to allow ourselves to know that we might have an upset at any moment. And simply giving ourselves permission to know that, I think, is helpful towards stability, strangely enough, because as long as you do nothing wrong with the emotions that come up in you, if you do not injure another person, if you do not call names, if you do not make ad hominem against the man attacks, if you do not use violent language, if you find yourself using expletives, step back for a moment. Breathe. That's a very clear indicator that your neurosystem has been overloaded by an event, either in your own mind or triggered by somebody else. And you need to get a grip. If you start, if it comes out and that thing comes out, which it does for all of us, make sure that you don't make a decision from within that or act out of that. You don't throw the punch. You don't say the mean thing. You don't tell yourself that you have the right to tell that person off in a way that is pejorative, that is or belligerent or really aggressive. It's okay to have the aggressive feeling. We just can't help that. It's as though somebody stepped on our toe and you want to push them. Well, somebody can step on our toe and we can lean back and so if it's not literal step on toe, but if it's emotional stepping on of a toe, we can stabilize ourselves by realizing that, whoa, I was surprised and so I got angry at that person. And I cannot use violent language against that person. I can go, whoa, that was a something. And just give me a second here to answer that. And then you breathe and look away from them. And what you're really doing when you're looking away is you're checking yourself out emotionally and letting things stabilize, because it went, "Pah!" And so you breathe and you look away from the source that made you volatile, and then that's going to stabilize you just enough that you will be, no matter what the situation is, you're going to be able to console yourself that you, my dear viewer, didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything to make the situation worse. Anything that happens after that, it's not going to be your fault, because you won't have upped the ante, as the saying goes in cards. You won't have upped the ante. So again, as I said, taking this deep breath, looking away from whoever, or, I've told you this before, going out of the room. Excuse yourself. If you're finding yourself almost going to cry, which happened to me only yesterday. After all of this time, I'd never experienced anything quite like this before. It's part of the stuff that's been emotionally reactive in me, I'm sharing with you. I'm nearly 30 years of dealing with Susanna Bloch and colleagues' Alba emoting. I mean, I have a lot of body knowledge. I have a lot of knowledge about other people's bodies and how they work and what the neuro research is and where we're at with all of that. And still, does that make me immune from my own emotions and from those underlying post-pandemic and pandemic emotions that we're all having right now? No. So you, dear, dear, dear human being, are not immune either. Don't beat yourself up for your emotional reactivity. Simply say to yourself, wow, I'm emotionally reactive. I feel like I want to cry right now. Whoa, I'm in the middle of something. I can't break down in sobs. Then the other person is going to get worried about what I'm doing, and I don't want to, no, I'm in a meeting. I'm in a meeting. So excuse yourself, walking out of the room, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Straighten up your spine. Look to the far distance as you walk, and you're going to be volatile. You're going to be feeling all of these things. Stick with those feelings, whatever they are, volatilely. And as you breathe, you could do that, what I just did. Nice big sigh, a little stretch, no matter how you're feeling. In through the nose, back in through the nose, out through the mouth. It will start to stabilize. Your whole body will get the message limbically that you need to stabilize a little bit. You need to get a little bit of balance because you went all this way, you went all that way, and it was triggered. So allow yourself to do that. That is one of the ways that you can stabilize yourself. And the second part of this person's question, I react to everything. I fly off the handle. Okay, so I think I addressed that. You fly off the handle. The second question, completely separate from a separate person, is, and I quote, can you address emotional blocks? Can you address emotional blocks as they relate to physical body and past gaining awareness? That's kind of a run-on sentence, but let me finish. So I'll start again. Can you address emotional blocks as they relate to physical body and past? Gaining awareness, how one might work to clear tension, say in the hips or what have you, to make way for the flowing of emotion. So this querent is an actor. And so, of course, all actors and artists, whether you're a sculptor, whether you're, pretty much whatever, any art or craft, we all hope to be in a flow of emotion that is going to be reflected in the art form that we are engaging in. Painting is a great thing. The paint actually literally flows or doesn't. How are you going to do it? Are you going to spatter it? Are you going to, And so our emotions are useful with with these things, and all actors want them to be able to flow, because we have been taught that acting is reacting. So we want our nervous system, and we want to have access to the limbic system to be able to react to what the scene partners or the story that is being told is, in an authentic, in a real way. And that needs to be real and authentic, whether we're doing, very broad farcical comedy, whether we're doing ironical comedy, whether we're doing with sarcasm, whether we're doing, deep and heavy drama or apocalyptic, happenings, whatever the story is being told, we need to be very present. And I think that is the key to what you're asking, Querent. You want emotional flow, and you want to get over the blocks to that flow. Well, the blocks to that flow, you come by very, very honestly. Thinking about these questions, I thought, what can I recommend to people that's practical? Well, one thing I can recommend is, let me turn this camera around, and so I will show you this book. This book is The Body Keeps the Score. Brain, mind, and body in the healing of trauma, with this beautiful Matisse cutout. And then the author is Bessel van der Kolk. And Bessel van der Kolk is a very famous psychiatrist who has worked with people in regards to trauma. And it could be argued that the entire world is in trauma right now because of the pandemic. So some level of trauma. So those of us who have had, serious familial traumas in our past, at any point in our lives, or who have had, let's see, how else can we think of that? Situational and civic traumas in our past, such as if we're in an ethnic group if we are Asian immigrants or African American heritage. There's both race memory trauma there, not for all, but for most. And then there's also our individual trauma in our own life world, from broken families, from a mother or a father or a grandparent who might be mentally, emotionally ill, etc., etc. You get the idea. So what Dr. Bessel van der Kolk is addressing here is how these traumatic events get literally encoded in ways we don't yet understand, but are getting better and better at understanding in our bodies. So, querent, you ask the blocks that say in the hips, how do you get rid of the tension? So I caution you, young actor, that you can't just wave a magic wand and expect these tensions to go away, because they're encoded in your body for excellent body reasons. Your body's really smart, and there's some reason that your hips are tight. One of them might be genetic and not any of this emotional stuff at all. It may just be the way, your fascia is connected. So if your muscular fascia is connected in a particular way and the tendons are naturally tight, you can blame, your father, your grandfather, your great-grandmother, et cetera, because maybe that's just natural to your particular build. There are different types of builds. There are different lengths of skeleton. Ectomorphs, the tall people, and mesomorphs are the middle tall, and the endomorphs are the smaller, more compact, really strong builds. So we all have genetic stuff behind us with how our muscles and tendons and soft tissue is attached, and that it's there. So in answering your question, what can you do to release tension? I would suggest that you read The Body Keeps the Score if you like intellectual stuff. If you have a sense that you do have trauma, that either trauma that you have uncovered and you know what it is from therapy, or that there's still stuff that hasn't come up in therapy that you just maybe, third eye intuitive sense that there's more in you younger, perhaps, than has been able to be addressed in therapy. I've mentioned before that with a licensed psychotherapist who works a lot, the EMDR is a very, very good therapy, because what you do with the help of the particular therapist who is accredited in EMDR is you contact the emotional situation in your own personal life, you stay with that, and then you do certain you use certain cognitive behavioral tools such as tapping to address them. And you do it in a specific way that is unique to you. This is not something you can do over the internet unless you've already worked with a licensed psychotherapist doing it. It's an excellent, excellent modality, and I would recommend it to anybody who would like to, to get some sense into their own past. And if you were thinking of coming to me in New York, say for the upcoming July 3rd and 4th weekend emotional intensive workshop about the feelings on that Saturday and Sunday, it's just been added incidentally, so this is something you could think about. We would be able to figure out, at least initially with you would discover in your body, not my body, not somebody else's body, your body, what some of those blocks actually are. You can only go so far in 2 days, however intensely I do it, but we could get a doggone good idea. So you could then go back and to find a good licensed psychotherapist and do some EMDR, and then you could come back to me. Or they can be done simultaneously, but expense and COVID finances and all that. Go ahead and do the EMDR, and then come to Alba Technique, and we will figure out by your body discoveries what's there, and also kind of what your superpowers are. Are you particularly visual? Are you particularly kinetic? Are you particularly oral, etc.? So all of these things are very, very helpful. So another thing that you could do, actor querent, to get the emotion flowing is you could give yourself not give yourself, again, I always recommend, if possible, that you find an in-person teacher for these physical modalities. Doing this stuff on Zoom, you're only going to go so far, and you're going to think you have more body knowledge than you actually have. And what you have is, prefrontal cortex. I understand the concept of this. It doesn't mean your body gets it. It's the body we need to deal with. So I would say Alexander technique. If you get a one-on-one with a good Alexander teacher, who when you say yes, you may, the Alexander teacher may touch you and may help you find what Susanna Block would call your skeletal axis, the axis of your skeleton, so that if you have, say, a scoliosis of the spine, you're going to be able to, to sense how to be on your physical balance, your stability into your feet, as actors say, grounded, how you can be grounded in your body. I think, Querent, it's not as important that you remove all these blocks, certainly not early on, say in your work with me, but that we know what they are. That's what we want to do for artists, is to get more and more clear. We want clarity. We want specificity. We don't want to just say, oh, my lower back hurts. Where does my lower back hurt? When I get angry, does my lower back hurt more? Or am I aware of it, or am I not aware of it? So we want to increase the self-discovery when we want to increase your physical kinetic awareness of your soma, your body. I can't remember when I will be teaching a somatic sensing class. If you can't get to New York, that would be another thing you could do. You could take the 5-part somatic sensing, which is, we're also sick of Zooms, but I actually can give you a lot of tools to use that are very, very practical, even if you never decide to come and work on the actual emotions themselves with me, because I cannot teach you Alba emoting emotional effector patterns on Zoom. It is completely unethical to offer to do so. Anybody who says they are is, I think, immoral, but we can certainly say unethical, because the founder of all of this, Susanna Block, has absolutely, explicitly forbidden it. And she forbade it to all of the teachers that she certified to level 5 in Alba emoting. So if there's anybody who's decided that he or she chooses to conveniently forget that a promise was made to the foundress, that is an unethical person. No matter what story they're telling themselves, it's unethical. But there are many things that we can do. So EMDR is one thing, Querent. Go ahead and do it. Find out. An Alexander technique class, excellent for you to do. Whatever city you're in, you're going to be able to find, if you're near a city, you should be able to find an Alexander teacher. You could find a good Moishe Feldenkrais teacher. Also, do one-on-one. Don't do classes, not right away, not in Feldenkrais or Alexander. Then once you've had a couple of one-on-ones where and find a Feldenkrais teacher particularly who is really experienced. It's a very gentle, it's a very gradual way of getting a sense of the body. It does not work with Alba emoting together, but it works brilliantly as something to prepare your mind and your body to do Alba emoting emotional effector patterns with me or another master teacher, if you should so decide. And then just allow whatever is happening. Don't be worried about getting rid of tensions. I keep telling actors this. They want it all to like me to wave a wand and it magically goes away. Well, if one works with Qigong, with Chinese Qigong, as I have done to a small degree, and one happens to be gifted in certain ways, then one can sometimes do a little Qi and make a block go away, either permanently or temporarily. I did that a couple of times, and I don't think it's good. I think your body is so smart, and that your body is keeping a score. Oh, that's backwards. Your body is keeping a score from something in the past or in the present. So we must be very gentle and very specific and very clear and very kind. You must be kind to yourself. Kindness is really underrated. It's looked upon as, especially these days, as somehow being weak or not engaging in life and the bad things that are happening. I am here to tell you that the greatest strength lies in your kindness to yourself, to the people in your immediate surroundings, and then it spirals out from you to the world. So be kind. Post-pandemic and pandemic, everyone is carrying a terrible burden. You too. You are not exempt from this. So balance, perfect balance, is not normal and human. Stability, groundedness, releasing of tensions, we can all learn how to go with this. And look to the structures in your life for stability. As you're observing your own emotions and feelings, make sure that you're hydrating. Doggone it, the simplest things. Yeah. Just feeling your lips and your tongue and the swallowing mechanism, it relaxes a person. So blessings upon you. Thank you both for those beautiful questions. You know who you are. And if you have any reactions to what I've said, if it triggers further questions, please do let us know. And I will absolutely address them next week from 5 to 5:30 Eastern Time in the United States on All the Feels. I'm Patricia Angelin at Alba Technique. And thank you so much for being with me. I very much appreciate it.